Have you ever had a moment where something just doesn't feel right, but you couldn't explain why? There wasn't anything obvious, nothing you could point to, but you felt it in your gut, in your chest, in your body. And the more you tried to ignore it, the louder the feeling seemed to get. Most people have experienced that, but a lot of people don't trust it because it doesn't always come with logic. It doesn't always come with a clear explanation. It just shows up as a feeling. And today, I want to talk about that because that feeling is often information. Hello and welcome to Thrive Within. I'm your host, Marc Bucksouth, a life coach, educator, and someone who's passionate about helping you live more fully, honestly, and aligned with who you really are. This podcast is your space for real talk and focused coaching on things like confidence, purpose, boundaries, self-doubt, and personal growth. So whether you're on a walk, taking a break, or just giving your brain a moment to breathe, I am so glad you're here. Let's get into it. One thing that just doesn't get talked about enough is this. Your body often picks up things before your mind has time to process it. Before you can explain something, you feel it. You might feel tension in your chest, or a tightening in your stomach, or just a sense that something is off, even if it looks fine on the surface. And a lot of people, they just ignore that because they're waiting for a reason. They're waiting for something that they can point to and say, okay, this is why I feel this way. But your body doesn't work like that. It responds to patterns, tone, energy, just subtle shifts in people and environments. And sometimes it recognizes something before your conscious mind can even catch up. Here's where people start to struggle. They can feel something, but they don't trust it. So they override it, explain it away. They tell themselves, I'm overthinking. It's probably nothing. I don't want to make a big deal out of this. And over time, that creates a disconnect between what they feel and what they allow themselves to acknowledge. That's when people start to second guess themselves. Not because they don't have awareness, but because they've learned to not trust it. That feeling in your body is often your internal awareness trying to get your attention. It's not always telling you something is wrong, but it is telling you something is worth paying attention to. Sometimes it's this conversation isn't sitting right. Or sometimes it's the situation feels off. And sometimes it's this isn't aligned with me. And the more that you ignore it, the louder it tends to get. Think about a time that you had a conversation with someone, and afterward, something just didn't sit right. Maybe you couldn't explain it. Nothing obvious was said, but you felt it. That feeling you had, that wasn't random. That was your body was picking up on something. It was tone, energy, and consistency. Something just didn't fully align. And if you've ever had that experience where later something becomes clear and you think, oh man, I felt that earlier, that's exactly what it is. So what do you do with this? You don't react immediately, and you don't ignore it either. You get curious. So instead of saying, this doesn't make sense, you ask, what am I noticing right now? Instead of pushing it away. You sit with it for a moment. You give your mind time to catch up to what your body is already picking up on. And then over time, something starts to shift. You begin to trust yourself more. Not just your thoughts, but your awareness. Now, this is important. This isn't about letting every feeling control your decision. It's about paying attention. Your feelings are information. Your thoughts help you interpret that information. And when those two are working together, that's where clarity comes from. Not just reacting, not just overthinking, but understanding. And there's another part of this that's important to recognize, because when this happens, it's not just a thought. It's a physical experience. You might feel it in your gut, that tight feeling that just doesn't go away, or in your chest, or like a kind of pressure that just something isn't sitting right. And sometimes it shows up as restlessness, where you just can't fully relax and your mind keeps circling back to the same moment. And what's interesting is, even if you try to ignore it, your body doesn't. It keeps bringing your attention back to it. That's not random. That's awareness trying to stay active. And the more that you start paying attention to those signals, the easier they become to recognizing earlier. Instead of noticing it after the fact, you start noticing it in the moment. And that's where things really begin to change. When you begin trusting those signals, you don't suddenly become reactive. You become clear. You start to recognize, this doesn't feel aligned. This conversation feels off. The situation isn't sitting right with me. And instead of pushing through it, you pause. You ask a question. Create a space. You don't have to confront everything immediately, but you also don't have to ignore it anymore. And that's where boundaries actually begin. Not with control, not with force, but with awareness. If there's one thing to take away from today, it's this. That feeling in your body isn't something to ignore. It's something to listen to. Not blindly, but intentionally. Because the more that you learn to recognize it, the more you learn to trust yourself. And the more that you trust yourself, the clearer your path becomes. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'll see you in the next episode. And remember, you're doing better than you think.